Welcome back. We're still talking to columnist Rod Liddle. Rod, before we get on to the personality of the Prime Minister, such as it is, what's your take on the Manchester airport cop beating? These two Muslim brothers were filmed on July the 23rd. They were caught on camera, raining blows down on these coppers. We saw two separate films, one that seemed to rather indict the coppers, one of them stamping on one of the attackers' heads, and then the next film showed the coppers really having the crap beaten out of them, frankly. They all had to go to hospital. One of them, a woman, broke her nose. Now, that was July the 23rd. The Crown Prosecution Service took an unusually long time to come up with their folder on the case, their dossier. They did that on August the 15th. So the police handed the dossier to the CPS recommending charges. The CPS now, here, where are we at now? 2 months on from that, have still yet to bring any charges against anyone, either the coppers or the brothers. I'd say that every day they don't bring charges against those brothers is an ongoing embarrassment for any Prime Minister who has a nickname two-tier Keir, who loves to tell us there's no such thing as two-tier justice.
You know, I've always wanted not to believe that we have a two-tier system. And yet the way in which the rioters were dealt with after the July riots, it was July, wasn't it? Or was it late June?
Yeah, well, July, the attack on the dance floor happened on the 29th, and the riots essentially unfolded the following night. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. It was just as the election came up, wasn't it? And also, signally, you might say, just before the start of the football season. But nonetheless, there's that. There's also... You know, I have no time for Tommy Robinson's views. I think he buys into conspiracy theories, and I think he's an extremist and probably out to cause trouble. I may be wrong about that. But nonetheless, the way he has been treated by the criminal justice system is absolutely outrageous. You know, you were talking earlier about these supposed rioters being banged up in prison within 6 days. He gets banged up without even recourse to a lawyer. You know, it is inconceivable that that's the right thing to do in a democracy. And I speak as someone who, as I say, has no time for him whatsoever. So it does look as if there's a real problem there that the Crown Prosecution Service has, but also, probably more importantly, the local police services, the local police authorities across the country, they have been told to get tough on the right. It seems to be incontestable that is what they've been told. Keir Starmer said as much. The ludicrous, floundering Yvette Cooper's department said that they were all criminals before they even came to court.
That's right.
If you remember, you know, which is great. That's, you and I, mate, who did our law exams before we became journalists, remember that that's probably something which is called contempt of court.
Absolutely.
But you know, they don't care. There is a different kind of justice. I don't know if it's two-tier. It may be more tiers than that. But there is a different kind of justice for people who the liberal establishment wishes to stick it to. And that means right-wing protesters rather than just stop oil protesters. It means right-wing protesters rather than BLM protesters. It means Muslims who may have done wrong tend to get a rather easier ride than, you know, Christians who do wrong, such as I think that a local priest has just been sent to prison for flouting the law on how close you can stand to an abortion clinic before you can be banged up for saying things which the people going inside might not wish to hear. So there is undoubtedly, it's never been a politically pristine thing, justice, but it's particularly not so today.
What we clearly had after the summer riots was the judiciary doing the Prime Minister's bidding, and that's not acceptable. And I've said several times on air, I've said to both the Crown Prosecution Service and Manchester Police, I've said the way I see it is you're dragging your heels on this because you don't want to charge two Muslim guys, because then people will say you're Islamophobic. I say, if I'm wrong, get in touch, let me know.
There's another one.
The silence continues.
There's another one. I don't know if you remember this, and I don't know if it has finally come to court, but I've tried to look it up. You may remember the Kent councillor, Labour councillor.
The Deptford thing, yeah?
Yeah, let's slash their throats, cut the throats of the protesters.
That's right, yep.
As far as I'm aware, that hasn't come to court yet.
I think he got charged, but I'm not sure it's been in court, no.
No, it was meant to be. It was meant to be in court in September, but I keep looking up to see what happened to him. Probably a week's community service at some place which he
£10 fine.
Yeah, or no, community service at some third sector organisation which leeches money from the taxpayer as well. I don't know, but you keep. It seems, and this all plays into the Tommy Robinson stuff about conspiracies, that if people seem to be being treated differently, and they do seem to be being treated differently, then people will get angrier and angrier and angrier, and it will cause more problems.
Exactly right. Before we part company, Rod, let's return to, I think mainly we'll talk about the character, the personality of Keir Starmer, just to get the facts straight. He has plummeted from grace. His popularity has plummeted more than any other Prime Minister, any other new Prime Minister in modern history. He's gone from +11 a popularity rating just after the election to now -38. That's a massive drop of 49 points. Tony Blair kept it in he stayed out of the negative equity for 3 years after his 1997 victory. Cameron and Boris managed to stick high up the charts for some time after their election. This guy is just plummeting really, really fast. Now, obviously, as we discussed earlier, I think he's made a lot of very bad political mistakes. Frankly, he's coming across as somebody who couldn't run a booze up in a brewery. But what about his personality? There's something about him that's very hard to like. As I've said to you before, he sounds like a sort of sanctimonious parochial vicar talking down to his congregation of 4. He's got a terrible delivery, and he doesn't seem to have any emotional intelligence. He's just dislikable, I think.
Yes, I usually finish speaking to you at exactly 7:30, and you introduced this thing about Keir Starmer's personality, and I noticed there was 6 seconds to go, and I thought, Keir Starmer's personality, 6 seconds,
that should cover it.
But no, he reminds me more of I suppose, the deputy leader of something like Dudley City Council, or he's an apparatchik. It's the old John Betjeman verse. I am a young executive, no cuffs and minor cleaner. I have a slimline briefcase and I use the firm's Cortina. He is exceptionally boring. So there's the boredom stuff. But what we didn't bake in, as they always say, is his capacity to lie. We didn't bake that in. We thought he might be telling us the truth, and he hasn't. Yeah. And that's why the opinion poll ratings have slumped.
And you said, Rod, we're going to go in a second, but you pointed out something about him, and that is this: he doesn't seem to have any principles. He's a classic case of one of those politicians.
No, there's no principle.
If you don't like my opinions, I've got others. I mean, he is Slippery Starmer.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. So
he is, and he's failing his party by not actually addressing inequality in the country, and he's failing the electorate by a series of political missteps or just down the line incompetencies, which frankly make me think of Liz Truss. It's
that bad.
It's that level of incompetence that we're seeing at the moment. I don't think he will be there in 4 years' time for the next election. I don't think it's
Well,
going to be.
if he is, Labour are mad, because I think if he's still in power, he's already lost them the next election. They keep talking about 10-year plans. Good luck with that. Rod, always a pleasure. Let's talk again next week.
Let's do that.
Rod Liddle there, brilliant columnist at The Sun.